So, yes, Choco, you are first. So, very impromptu live here because I just thought to myself, if I'm sat here playing with Massive X, I may as well be live. I may as well show you the ropes. I was going to do a nice little video about it and all very fancy and everything else, but why not just jump on and show you guys what's up? So, hope you're all having a great Friday, whatever time it is, wherever you're watching. And yeah, basically there's one person in the chat, but you know, whatever. This will serve as a nice little first shot. So yeah, you may know that Massive X came out in the last sort of 24, 48 hours or so. And I've basically got a full copy here and I'm just exploring. So yeah, this has, as you probably know, has been, you know, weighted on a lot of people's lists for a long time, where, you know, Massive was starting to show its age a little bit and was, you know, just brilliant, but just in need of an update. And this, I can tell you right now, worth waiting for. Okay, some have got sound bloody, you know, recommendations and requests already. Big Drones and ARPs from Enjo for Life 1995. All right, I'll see what I can come up with. I've actually come up with something already. So you don't know, like, my sort of style. I'm into like melodic techno, progressive house, that kind of thing, you know, sort of real melodic emotional stuff. If you don't know, then, you know, jump on Beatport and have a look at my stuff. I had an EP out last week, which is a nice little smooth little plug. So essentially, Massive X, going back into this now, is live and kicking. And I've got to say, based on the last 24 hours of me just having a basic play around with it, I absolutely love the thing. I think it's brilliant. And there's a lot to go through. So what you heard at the beginning, as I was introing the live, that is what I've just been working on. So I'll take you through it in terms of the bass sound, first of all. And if I open up here, like so, yeah, so I've got the bass here, and this is basically just all going to be like sort of preset stuff, because I've not really had a lot of time to dig underneath the surface too much, but it is a fantastic product, I've got to say it. So this is a bass preset. As you can see, you can go into the various menus here. I've got to be honest with you, I am at the moment not a massive fan of this browser, because it's very mouse based, it's very click based, and one of the things that I did really like about the original Massive, and actually a lot of my favourites since, whether it be Omnisphere, Repro, Diva, etc., they all have really strong browsers now with the ability to tag with different colours and stuff like that. So I do think, again, I might be starting on a complaint, but it's just something that I've noticed in the last sort of 24 hours of using the thing for the first time, that really it could do with something of a refresh, which is a bit rich coming from me from a new product, but, you know, it's worth it in the other areas. So at the moment, I'm using a bass preset called Cali, and it's a really good example of just how flexible the whole thing is. So if I just play that in isolation here, there you go. So yeah, it's got a really nice kind of sound to it, really nice resonance. It's that lovely sort of bass stab that you can start off with, and you can hear a bit of soft clipping at the top, but I can just take that down there. Just drag that down a little bit there, like that. Let's make it a little bit more even. So yeah, so basically it's an astonishingly simple synth to find your way around, but it's very deep on options. So obviously you start here with the dual wave table, and actually, you know, on first glance it looks like something of a downgrade, because obviously you had 3 wavetable oscillators in the original Massive, and here you've got the 2, but I can tell you the sound of the thing is fantastic, as you can just hear. And I've got to say, I do think it has a sound all of its own, and I do think that it is very much about Serum having its own kind of sound, and the original Massive obviously had its own kind of unique sound as well. It's definitely got that. It's got a smoothness and a richness to it that I was pleasantly surprised by. So in terms of what you've got across the top here, and this is one thing I really like, you've got 16 macros now rather than the original 8, which definitely does open up more modulation and obviously more macro possibilities. And again, it's very well suited to the complete control and NKS standard, as obviously you can have pages and pages of different controls if you are using those keyboards. So again, it's really, really great for that. And all I've done here is just make some very, very basic tweaks where I can obviously change the wavetable position here just by dragging. And in this particular preset, you have something called over, and you've got the ability to bend the pitch, etc., etc. And again, you have the level here as well for both the wavetables here. And again, I've got another one here which is a little bit more sort of sawtooth wave based, if you will. And from there, I can control the macro, because you can see very clearly that number 1 macro is assigned here. And again, if you want to assign anything here, you can just click on it, and it's the same kind of workflow as previous. And again, what it does is just reveal exactly where you can add in various different types of macro control. One of the things I do love as well is that the mod wheel and the pitch bend and the aftertouch are also easily mappable the same way. So again, if I just play this and just change the wavetable around, just changing some of the other parameters around, you can hear it's got a really interesting, quite beefy kind of sound. Again, you got a low pass there, you got the ability to add in a bit of noise. And again, underneath that filter, you've got that real sort of metallic-y kind of sound. So you can go from something that almost sounds like virtual analog straight into something quite sort of metallic-y, quite that classic Massive wavetable right from the off. So again, all of your different wavetables and stuff are all here. And again, you've got quite a few different wavetables here, including some really new ones, and again some really good FM ones. I've had a little play around with those, they're quite cool. Some operators for more sort of FM based stuff, and even the basics sound really, really powerful. So yeah, you've even got, and this is another thing that I quite like, on a lot of these wavetables you also get a filter. So you have per wavetable filters, and then on top of that you get obviously a main filter. You get the ability here to look at various other oscillators, and you can, again, here click, and then you can add in your effect here, whether it be like a bit crusher or, you know, a folder or a frequency shifter, a distortion, etc. You've got your main amp, and then you've got here all different types of things here, like a non-linear lab, which is basically a type of distortion. You have an EQ, and again, it's very, if you really familiar with the original Massive, you'll know all about this dimension expander, etc., etc. So it's astonishingly easy to use, but it's very, very, very deep. As you can see here with the modulation routing, or the routing in general, you have the ability to take connections and be able to move these things around quite a lot and decide how these things are connected. I haven't really quite dug into this yet, but it's actually, you know, very, very interesting that this almost becomes like a kind of a reactor style environment where you can almost decide and choose your own signal routing, which essentially makes Massive X a modular synth in its own right. So within that, you also have various different modulation options, including these 3 performers, which expands massively on the original performer style of modulation, pardon the pun. And you can go some crazy lengths here, and there's some great presets that I'll show you about this in a second. You've got 3 envelopes here, and envelope 1 is always the amp envelope, as far as I've discovered so far. and you can obviously map that to other elements as well if you like. And again, the modulation envelopes and the amp envelopes here are very, very deep indeed, and you can really, really shape these envelopes as well. It's very, very interesting. You can get real sort of custom curve shapes going on here. You've also got, again, another couple of modulation envelopes. Again, you can always switch these between modulation envelopes, exciter envelopes, switcher and random LFOs. And again, this switcher LFO is quite interesting in that you can maneuver it around. And again, that's something I'll play with in due course. But yeah, lots of options here, and then these more sort of curved-based modulators which can determine the travel of various parameters over time. So yeah, you've got that, and then obviously your voicing section, which was obviously a key part of the original. You have a lot of different options here. You can flip the unison on as well, and one of the things I really love about the unison is that you actually have a harmonizer in this as well, and you can harmonize unisons into chords, which is something I was playing with last night, and it's got real big potential. So yeah, you can play around with that. So again, I've got a lovely little sort of bass sound here, and I just had a little echo going through this as well. Nothing too fancy, just an 8 dotted, 50% on the feedback, around about 30-40%. And again, I'll just throw this on with the kick now. And you're just keeping it all native instruments based for this particular live. I absolutely love the TRK one, and some of the presets are really great, and it's really moldable and really malleable. I absolutely love the sound of this kick. It's something I'm probably going to use going forward. Yeah, this next sound that I just put in is called All Reverse, and we'll get to that other sound that's just kind of escaped into the stream there in a second. So essentially what this is just this lovely kind of like organ style pad, or you know, again, drone if you will. Again, I've just got that sending off to some basic reverb there. So yeah, I mean, if we can break these down a little bit more, you can again see not only do you have your dual wavetable here, you've also got 2, count them, noise generators, and you've got a lot of different noise based tables and oscillator types here. Very, very, very cool. So yeah, you've got obviously noise tables is here as well, so you can basically, you know, get a grasp of what they're doing. And yeah, very, very, very cool. And you can essentially pitch that whole thing as well. Obviously with white noise, not so much, but with some of the others, absolutely. Now your filter types are really, really cool here. I've actually got one here called Blue Monarch, which, you know, the accepted received wisdom on that is it's the filter from Monarch, and I can tell you it sounds quite fat. So essentially it is, you know, it sounds brilliant. It really does. Really, really great. And then from here, we've also got different types of distortion. We've got some frequency shifting, so we'll play around with some of that now as well. Very nice. And this is another nice thing you see with your insert effect here. You get 3 slots, and then within that you actually get something called a utility, which you then have 2 extra slots to work with, and again you can put in with basic filters, and yeah, you can really model the sound quite nicely there. So yeah, let's continue. Very cool. And just the amount of expression that you get even from these basic presets is absolutely brilliant. Really loving it. And again, that's just a really nice background for what we've got here, just with a basic track. I mean, I might turn this into a track, I might not, but... Again, just playing like a simple octave chord in D just to keep things nice and thick, and then maybe we can drop these down an octave, see where we can go. So yeah, I mean, that's just got a lovely movement to it. And again, I'm already really liking the sound of Massive X on its own, and it's definitely got a very distinct tone, which is, you know, really clean, but it's got that warmth that I'm really interested in. So yeah, I mean, I'm just still playing around with it here. Finally, I've got another sound here, which is really interesting. So if I just play the end of that, I'm just using this as like an incidental effect. So yeah, open that up. So many instances of Massive here. Advanced optics, as this is called. So again, I've just kind of rolled this down a little bit just to make it a little less mental. And this is where the performers really come into their own, because you can see the various sort of, you know, modes here, and you can essentially just draw them in yourself and decide them rather than working with the preset levels that you had previously. It's a very simple system. You can just move along, you can just drag. I'm not even holding any modifiers here. You can essentially make that point whatever you want. Very cool. And another thing I quite like as well is that you've got here 12 slots for different performer options. So you could essentially put a whole other bit in here. You could, you know, modulate various different parts, and you could actually move between the two. And I think you can actually do that via MIDI as well. That's something I've not dug into too much, but it's very cool. So in terms of this particular sound, I'm just using this as a, as I say, an incidental effect. So let's listen to this at the end of every 8 bars. yeah, a lot of that sort of dubbiness is coming from the echo that I've got here. I wanted to have something that has that, again, quite filtered, quite tape delay style, just to make that throw and add a little bit of movement. So yeah, quite nice where that's concerned. But again, even if we just experiment with the sound raw without the echo. So yeah, and we can even just and it's just amazing just how much, you know, how much expression you just get from this, and just the ease with which it comes and how smooth it is. It really is just a brilliant piece of kit. And again, we can just play around with these wavetables a little bit more. So yeah, you've got a huge amount of potential there, and again, coupling that with just sending that off to a rather large reverb, and then coupling that with the echo here. Just a great incidental sound. So again, it's still the first sort of 48 hours after this synth comes out, and yeah, we're still digging into the presets and digging into what it is, but these are my first impressions of Mass Effect. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Somebody's mentioned in the comments about aliasing. I haven't run into anything like that just yet, but again, this is still early doors for me. I think I only really got I got the demo last night and the full version like this evening, so this again is very much my early experiments with it, but on the face of it, it's definitely going to become a